Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are tackling something really central to how we operate, the relationship between our goals and our feelings.
That's right. You were curious about motivation, what drives us,
Mm.
and how our aims actually, shape our emotional experiencing.
Exactly. So we're diving deep into that connection. We've got a lot to unpack.
And we're using a really solid guide. A big meta-analysis from the Educational Psychology Review just came out August 2024.
A meta-analysis, so pooling lots of studies together.
Yeah, exactly. It's called Interrelations Among Achievement Goals and Achievement Emotions. Pulled together 355 studies, over 155,000 participants. It's looking at how 6 main types of achievement goals connect with 15 different achievement emotions. It's pretty comprehensive.
Okay, 155,000 people. That's a huge sample. So our goal today is to boil all that down.
Right. Make it clear for you how the goals you set, whether that's, I don't know, learning an instrument or just getting through a tough project,
Huh.
how those aims affect how you feel, while you're doing it and afterwards. We want to get beyond just saying they're links.
Understand the why.
Exactly. So first things first, what are achievement goals? The study defines them as the purpose for engaging in competence-relevant behavior.
Okay, the purpose, like the reason you're trying to do something that requires skill.
Precisely. It's the lens you use to judge how you're doing.
Yeah.
And they focused on 6 main types.
6 types. All right, let's take them out. First one.
Mastery approach. This is all about developing your skills, understanding the task better. The focus is on learning and improving, getting better for its own sake.
Okay, so personal growth. Not really about comparing yourself to others.
That's the core idea, yeah. Then you have mastery avoidance.
Avoidance.
Yeah.
How does that work with mastery?
Well, here you're driven by the fear of not mastering the task or maybe doing worse than you did before. It's about avoiding incompetence according to your own standards.
Okay, so still focused on getting it right, but driven by fear of getting it wrong for yourself. Interesting. What's next?
Performance approach. This one's more external.
Right.
It's about wanting to do better than others, to show you're competent, maybe even the best, demonstrating ability relative to other people.
The competitive edge. Okay. And I guess there's an avoidance version of that too.
You got it. Performance avoidance. Here, the main goal is to avoid looking bad or performing worse than others. It's not about winning. It's about not losing or not appearing to lose.
Avoiding that feeling of looking dumb in front of everyone. Yeah, I can see that. What else?
Then there's work avoidance, which sounds exactly like what it is.
Huh. Trying to get away with doing as little as possible.
Pretty much. Minimizing effort, getting the task done with the least amount of work. Maybe it's about efficiency, maybe just backing off a bit.
We've all been there. Okay, and the last one.
The last one is relational goals. These are a bit different, focused on social aspects.
Like getting along with the team.
Yeah, or building positive relationships, maybe seeking approval, avoiding conflict within that achievement setting. It's about the people involved.
Okay, so those are the 6 goals. Mastery approach, mastery avoidance, performance approach, performance avoidance, work avoidance, and relational. Got it. Now the other side, achievement emotions.
Right. These are just the feelings tied directly to achievement activities or their outcomes.
Not just any emotion, but one specifically linked to trying or succeeding or failing.
Exactly. They can be positive, like enjoyment, pride, hope, or negative, anxiety, shame, boredom, anger. And the study makes a useful distinction between activity, emotions, feelings you have during the task.
Like frustration while you're stuck on a problem.
Perfect example. And outcome emotions, feelings about the result, like relief when you finish, or disappointment if it didn't go well.
Okay. Activity versus outcome. And these can be about the past, present, or future, right?
Absolutely. You can feel proud about a past success, anxious about an upcoming test, or bored during a tedious task right now.
This is really starting to map out that internal landscape. Is there a theory that kind of ties these goals and emotions together?
Yeah, the control value theory is pretty central here. It suggests that your emotions pop up based on how much control you feel you have over the situation
Okay.
and how much you value the activity or the outcome.
Control and value. Makes sense. And the goals influence that.
Exactly. Your achievement goal shapes how you appraise the control and value.
Yeah.
So if you have a mastery approach goal, you probably see challenges as controllable learning opportunities. You value the learning, and that tends to lead to more positive emotions.
Right. Feeling like you can handle it and that it's worthwhile. That's empowering. Now, this isn't the first meta-analysis on this, is it? There was one back in 2011.
Correct. That earlier one confirmed there were links, definitely. But it also found a lot of variation, inconsistencies between studies,
Oh.
which basically signal, hey, we need to dig deeper, look at more specific types of goals and emotions, and that's what this new 2024 analysis does.
Gotcha. A more detailed picture. And just remind us about effect sizes, how we gauge the strength of these links.
Sure, we'll use R values.
Mhm.
Above 0.10 is small, above 0.20 is medium, and above 0.3 is considered large. Just a rough guide to the strength of the connection.
Small, medium, large. Got it. Okay, let's dive into the results, starting with mastery approach goals, the learn and grow ones. What did they find?
Well, this is probably what you'd expect. Mostly good news. Large positive links with a general positive effect, just feeling good overall,
Uh-huh.
and a large positive link with enjoyment during the activity. When you're focused on learning, you tend to actually like doing the thing.
Yeah, that feels right. Getting lost in the process. What about after the fact, the outcome emotions?
Interestingly, they found medium to large positive associations there too,
Mm-hmm.
with happiness, hope, and pride. So it's not just enjoying the journey.
Right.
The focus on mastery seems to boost positive feelings about the results as well, which kind of expands on older ideas that mostly linked it just to the activity itself.
That's great. So mastery focus pays off emotionally, both during and after. Any downsides? Any negative emotion links?
Much weaker links, but yeah, small negative associations with general negative affect and with anxiety about the outcome.
So less likely to feel generally bad or anxious.
Right. And small to medium negative associations with anger and boredom during the task.
Yeah.
Basically, focusing on learning seems to push out those negative feelings. It acts like a buffer.
That makes a strong case for trying to adopt that mindset. Okay, what about mastery avoidance? Trying not to fail by your own standards sounds trickier emotionally.
It is. It's more complex. They found small positive links with general negative affect and with anger during the activity.
Anger, like frustration with yourself.
Could be that feeling of, oh, why can't I get this,
Yeah.
when you're judging yourself harshly.
Okay, what about outcome emotions?
There they found small to medium positive links with anxiety and shame.
Anxiety and shame. That fits, doesn't it? If you're worried about not meeting your own bar, you'd likely feel anxious and maybe ashamed if you feel you fall short.
Exactly. It's that internal pressure. You want mastery, but you're preoccupied with the fear of failing yourself. It's inherently stressful.
Yeah, sounds draining. Did the results match our ideas about anxiety and maybe relief?
Partially. Older theories suggested links to both anxiety before not mastering and potentially relief after successfully avoiding that failure.
Uh-huh.
This meta-analysis found the anxiety link. Yeah, but the overall picture leaned more towards a stronger connection with negative emotions like anxiety and shame generally, rather than a strong signal for relief.
So the avoidance part really colors the emotional experience negatively. Okay, let's switch to performance approach goals. Trying to outperform others. What's the emotional vibe there?
This is where it gets really interesting, actually, kind of a mixed bag. They found small to medium positive associations with positive affect. So, striving to be the best can feel good.
Okay.
But, and this is key, they also found small to medium positive associations with negative affect.
Wait, positive links with both positive and negative feelings. How does that work?
Well, think about it. The thrill of competition, the potential for victory that can feel good. But the pressure, the fear of not winning, the constant comparison that can also breed negative feelings.
Right, the highs and lows. What about specific emotions?
On the positive side, yeah, small to medium links with hope and pride. Makes sense, aiming for the top. But also small to medium positive links with anxiety and shame.
Pride and shame, anxiety and hope simultaneously.
It seems so. The data suggests these can coexist when performance approach is the driver. You feel hope and pride when you succeed or anticipate success, but the pressure can also fuel anxiety about failing and potentially shame if you don't measure up. They also found a link with enjoyment during the activity, interestingly.
Enjoyment of the competition itself.
Perhaps. Some people thrive on that rivalry, but the main story is this complex mix. Oh, and a small negative link with boredom competition keeps things exciting, I guess.
So, not boring, but potentially an emotional roller coaster. Pride, hope, anxiety, shame, enjoyment. Wow. That's more complicated than I thought.
Definitely. It suggests pursuing being the best is emotionally demanding.
Okay. What about its counterpart, performance avoidance? Trying not to look bad compared to others. Is that less complicated?
A bit more straightforward, yeah, but mostly in a negative direction. Small positive associations with overall negative affect
Oh.
And with anger and boredom during the activity, if you're just trying not to mess up, you might feel frustrated or just checked out.
Yeah, you're probably not engaged in a positive way. What about outcome emotions?
There, they found medium positive associations with anxiety and shame. This is a pretty strong finding.
Medium.
Focusing on not looking incompetent really seems linked to feeling anxious about potential failure and ashamed if you perceive yourself as falling short in others' eyes. It really supports the idea that this goal orientation is emotionally costly.
That feels right. Always looking over your shoulder, worrying about judgment. Must be tough. Did they find it killed positive emotions? Like, if you're avoiding bad, do you miss out on good?
You'd think so, but the meta-analysis didn't consistently find strong negative links with positive emotions. The data wasn't clear-cut on that.
Huh.
The main consistent finding was the increase in negative emotions, rather than a definite decrease in positive ones.
So it actively adds negative feelings rather than just subtracting positive ones.
Yeah.
Subtle difference. Okay, next up, work avoidance. Trying to do the bare minimum. What emotions come with that?
Well, no surprise here. A medium positive link with boredom during the activity.
Makes total sense. If you're trying not to engage, it's probably going to be boring.
Exactly. They also found a small positive association with anxiety about the outcome.
Anxiety, why?
Maybe worrying you'll get caught or face negative consequences for not putting in enough effort.
Ah, okay. Fear of the repercussions of slacking off.
Possibly.
Hmm.
And importantly, a medium negative association with enjoyment during the activity.
So definitely not having fun.
Right. Trying to avoid work actively seems to undermine finding any pleasure in it. And this is important because, as the outline noted, there hasn't been a ton of research on the emotional side of work avoidance.
So these findings are quite valuable, highlighting the negative feelings, especially boredom and lack of enjoyment, linked to just trying to coast.
Precisely.
Okay, last goal type. Relational goals. Focusing on connections with others. What's the emotional picture here?
Generally positive. Medium positive associations with enjoyment during the activity and with overall positive effect.
That feels intuitive. Good teamwork, positive interactions, feeling connected. That usually feels good, right?
Absolutely.
Mm.
The positive social vibe seems to translate into positive feelings during the task.
What about negative emotions? Sometimes social stuff can be stressful, like worrying about what people think.
That's true, and some individual studies might show that. But interestingly, at the meta-analytic level, looking across all those studies, they found no significant overall link between relational goals, as measured, focusing on positive connections, and negative emotions.
Really? So focusing on positive relationships didn't generally seem to increase anxiety or shame overall.
Not in this large-scale analysis. However, the researchers do caution that research here is still a bit limited. They suggest we need to look closer at different kinds of relational goals. Like, is seeking approval different emotionally from trying to avoid conflict? Probably.
Yeah, the specific social motivation likely matters a lot. Okay, that covers the main goal emotion links. But the study also dug into moderating factors, right? Things that change the strength of these connections.
Yes, they did, which adds another layer of complexity but also insight. One factor was the population. Were they students, athletes, workers?
Did that matter?
It did have some effect. For instance, that link between mastery approach and happiness. It was stronger for school pupils than for athletes.
Huh, why might that be?
Hard to say definitively from this, maybe the context, the pressures, but it shows the relationship isn't identical across different groups.
Good point. What else moderated the links?
The specific facets of mastery goals were important. It mattered whether the goal was framed as being about the task itself, about personal learning, or just a general mastery focus.
How so?
Well, for example, if your mastery approach goal was really focused on the task, like understanding this specific concept that showed a stronger positive link with positive affect and pride, and a weaker negative link with anxiety, compared to a more general, I want to learn goal.
Wow. So the way you frame your mastery goal impacts the emotional payoff. That's subtle but significant.
It really is. It suggests just saying focus on mastery isn't enough. The type of mastery focus matters.
Okay. What about facets of performance goals? Did it matter if you wanted to look good versus actually be better than others?
Surprisingly, no. The meta-analysis didn't find that distinction made a big difference to the emotional links.
Really? I'd have thought wanting to appear competent would be more anxiety-provoking.
You might think so, but the overall data didn't strongly support that difference as a key moderator. It seems the general drive to perform well compared to others was the more dominant factor for emotions.
Interesting. Any other moderators?
Yes, the level of specificity. They found that if you measure goals and emotions at the same level, like goals for this course and emotions about this course, the correlations tend to be stronger than if you measure general goals and specific emotions, or vice versa.
That makes sense. Keep things aligned. What about age? Do these connections change as we get older?
Apparently not much, according to this analysis. Age didn't pop up as a significant moderator. These goal-emotion dynamics seem pretty consistent across different age groups studied.
That is surprising. You'd imagine life stage might influence things. Okay, one more. The measurement tools. The questionnaires used.
Yeah, those did have some influence. Different scales used in the original studies yielded slightly different strengths of association. It's a good reminder about methodology. How you measure these things matters.
Right. The tools shape the findings to some extent. Okay, let's try to pull this all together. Looking at this huge amount of data, what are the big overall implications?
The main takeaway, really reinforced by this work, is just how tightly woven our achievement goals and emotions are. It's not random, it's a pattern.
And the pattern generally suggests.
Generally, aiming for learning and personal growth, that mastery approach is linked to a more positive emotional landscape. Fewer negative feelings, more positive ones.
Uh-huh.
Conversely, focusing on avoiding failure, whether that's performance avoidance or just work avoidance, tends to go hand in hand with more negative emotions like anxiety, shame, or boredom.
Right. The avoidance goals seem costly.
They do. And performance approach, aiming to outperform, is that complex middle ground potential for pride and hope, but also for anxiety and shame. It's a double-edged sword.
And relational goals.
Aiming for positive connections seems generally linked to positive feelings like enjoyment.
So it really drives home that what we're aiming for profoundly shapes how we feel about the whole process.
Absolutely. It's a very direct link.
So for someone listening, what are the key takeaways they should really think about?
I think the most useful thing is to reflect on your own patterns. What usually drives you when you face a challenge or have to learn something new? Is it that mastery buzz? Is it pressure to perform? Or maybe just getting it done with minimal fuss?
Yeah, identifying your own default tendencies.
Exactly. And then consider how those tendencies might be influencing your emotions, the enjoyment, the stress, the pride, the anxiety. This research strongly suggests that shifting, even slightly, towards a more mastery-focused approach could potentially lead to a more positive emotional experience overall.
It's about seeing if you can cultivate that focus on learning and progress. Maybe
Yeah.
dial down the focus on external comparison or just avoidance.
Precisely. It might make the whole process feel more rewarding and less draining.
Were there any findings that particularly surprised you or stood out?
Well, that complexity around performance approach goals,
Yeah.
the simultaneous links to both positive and negative emotions like pride and anxiety, was really striking. It paints a very realistic picture of high-stakes competition.
Yeah, not just winners and losers, but complex feelings, even for those striving.
Right. Also, the finding that different flavors of mastery goals matter emotionally, that task-focused mastery having a slightly different emotional profile than general mastery, that's quite nuanced.
Yeah.
And maybe the clearer picture we now have on work avoidance, confirming its strong link to boredom and lack of enjoyment, is important, given how common that goal can be.
Definitely things to chew on. Where did the researchers suggest future research should go?
They had several good ideas. One big one is looking at how multiple goals interact. We usually have more than one goal operating at once, right? How does that mix affect emotions?
That's a great point. It's rarely just one thing driving us.
Exactly. They also mentioned needing more research on specific emotions like disgust or contempt in achievement context they were largely missing from the studies reviewed.
Yeah.
And digging deeper into relational goals, especially relational avoidance goals like trying to avoid social friction.
Okay.
And finally, they called for using more diverse ways to measure these things, maybe psychophysiological measures, not just relying on questionnaires to get a richer understanding.
Yeah, getting beyond self-report sounds like there's still plenty to explore. Okay, to wrap up, let's leave our listener with a final provocative thought.
Okay, how about this? Consider if your main drive in your pursuits, learning, work, hobbies, is heavily tilted towards getting external validation or avoiding judgment from others.
Uh-huh.
Is it possible that, without realizing it, you're kind of setting yourself up for more emotional ups and downs, more turbulence,
No.
than if your focus was more grounded in your own growth and the actual satisfaction of getting better at something?
So is the focus on the external inherently more volatile emotionally?
That's the question to ponder.
Mm.
And building on that, What small shifts could you make in how you frame your goals? Could slightly reorienting towards mastery toward the process actually change the quality of your emotional experience when you're striving?
It's a powerful idea that tweaking our internal aims might reshape our internal feelings.
Exactly. This meta-analysis gives us a really solid framework for thinking about that connection. Hopefully, it sparks some valuable insights for you as you navigate your own goals and emotions.
Absolutely. A lot to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.